You grew up right here. Same rules that I did. Welcome to Oscar Sunday. I'm Austin Johnson.
I'm Connor Eyzaguirre.
And today we're talking about The Fucking Town. Yes, from 2010, Ben Affleck directed. This is one of his comeback movies. He does Gone Baby Gone in 2007, The Town in 2010, Argo in 2012, and then he appears in Gone Girl in 2014, and you're like, holy shit, Ben Affleck is back, baby. And then he becomes Batman, and now we're where we're at now, and we're still reeling. But I think this is what he's about. I think Big Ben is a guy who's gonna have ups and downs, clearly, as he's so fascinating. And The Town is my favorite movie that he's ever been in. It's definitely my favorite of his directorial outings. And this movie is so dear to my heart. I'm so glad Jeremy Renner was nominated so that we could bring this movie to this show. That's the only nomination. Best Supporting Actor, Jeremy Renner as James Coughlin. Fucking gem. He's a gem. He's so good. I'm very, very excited to talk about this one. I've had it circled since we started the show. It's not my favorite 2010 movie. That probably belongs to The Social Network. But this is the movie I want to talk about most from this year, from this ceremony, the 83rd Academy Awards. I'm so excited. We're going to be giving awards out to the town. We're going to talk about the 83rd Academy Awards at the end of the show. We're going to do a project here in a bit, a top five. It is top five Best Supporting Actor nominees. So no winners, all the guys who have won from 2010 to 2019, all those guys are off the table. But from 2010 to 2019, anybody who was just nominated is up for the top five. So we've both, compiled a list here. Super excited because I think this is our mutual favorite category at the Oscars, along with probably screenplay. We both love a good, gritty screenplay, and we love a good supporting, character actor performance. So this is going to be sick, man. I'm so stoked. The Town, it's on Netflix and HBO Max, I believe. Connor, you have it on your Vudu, so you fucking own this movie. What did you think going down, to Charlestown this time?
This is my second time with The Town. And the first time I watched it, I remember thinking like, oh, that was cool. And then I just had it in my head as like, yes, I like that movie. And then I watched it this time and I couldn't look away. And I'm like, this is fucking badass. How did this not get way more attention?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's lightning from beginning to end. It's such a tight screenplay. Every character counts. It is brilliant. And this might be like, this is in my top five favorites of the year by a lot.
Oh, for sure.
And like, this should have been in Best Picture. This should have been in Screenplay. Affleck should have been up for director. Like, this should have made a splash. And it now counts. Like, it went up a couple points with my score. It's a, like, if I could give halves, it's a 9.5. Like, it is
yes, same
great movie. And yeah, I've been just pumped to kind of just bring all that shit out tonight. So yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, I feel the exact same way. It's not perfect. There are little things you could kind of pick at, but man, it's damn close. It's damn close to being a perfect movie. And it's one of those that if and like when you find someone who loves The Town, you're like, oh, I'm about to have a good fucking conversation right now. This is going to be great. It's one of my favorite Boston movies, one of my favorite heist movies. It just has all these great things going for it, and it's definitely spiritually calling out to Heat and Reservoir Dogs and all these different movies that just crank the intensity up and give you just this adrenaline rush for 2 hours, And I'm so obsessed with this movie. I've seen it so many times. It's the definition of a rewatchable movie because if I see it on TV, I've said this before about some movies, not about every movie we do. Recently we did Coming Home. That's not a movie you're like, oh, I'm just going to watch Coming Home on a random fucking Tuesday. But The Town is one of those, if it's 1 a.m. and there's about an hour left in the movie, fuck it. Like, I'll watch the fucking North End, bank robbery scene. When they fucking go to the bridge, that's how you fucking drive a car, like I'll watch it from any given point. I will continue watching it and I'll finish the fucking thing, and I'll see Ben Affleck with his beard out in Florida looking out at the water, like, yeah, see you on the other side, you know? And you're like, it's kind of cheesy at times, but it works. I don't fucking know how to explain it. It's like lightning in a bottle, man. I'm obsessed with this movie.
It's something about the heist movie, man. It's such a cool formula that is insanely reliable. And because of all the research we do for these shows, I've got so many random, mental callbacks when I'm watching these movies now. And this time I could not stop thinking about Sterling Hayden in The Killing. Like Affleck's character reminded me so much of Hayden in The Killing. And I just kept thinking like, this is evolution. This is what film is. And it was just so enjoyable to have that own like, personal chess match with myself. It was really fucking cool.
Yeah. I know exactly what you mean. It's one of those callback movies that is just stealing things here and there and forms it into this brilliant movie from 2010 that I believe is going to last forever. I think it has its fans and they're going to stick by it as one of the better, bank heist movies of all time. It's on that Mount Rushmore of seriously good heist movies. And man, I'm so excited to get into it. I do want to hear about some things you've been watching because I got a couple things I want to talk about. So we'll kind of dive into what we've been getting into this past week before we properly get into our top 5 and before we properly get into the town. So what have you been getting into?
Well, last week for Beyond the Bad, Caleb and I tackled the 1976 King Kong. So yes. I wanted to get some Kong text, as I said. And
yeah.
I watched the 1933 original King Kong, and I watched Peter Jackson's 2005 King Kong. And then I watched, of course, the 70s King Kong. And I got to say, I never want to see a giant monkey again. I am burned out on King Kong. But that 30s movie is a gem. It still holds up. It still looks incredible. It's got very little fat on it. I think Peter Jackson's Kong is cool looking, but it is insanely bloated.
Yes.
Doesn't need a lot of that. But to me, like, they got it right the first time. 1933's King Kong is one of the best monster movies of all time. And for what they were able to do with animatronics and puppetry back then, it looks insanely good. In addition,
almost 100 years old.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's Ray Harryhausen, the OG, the original monster guy. The guy who did Jason and the Argonauts and the Seventh Voyage of Sinbad and all of that stuff. The restaurant in Monsters Inc. is named after him.
Yeah.
It's a good watch. All the Kong movies, or most of them, are on HBO Max. If y'all ever want to just marathon 8 hours of Kong, I don't recommend it. Space that shit out. So because of the Kong, I wasn't really in tune with a lot of other stuff, but I did manage to watch on Netflix 2018's The Legacy of a White-tailed Deer Hunter.
Oh, that one's interesting.
Isn't it?
Weird film. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's Josh Brolin. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Josh Brolin and Danny McBride as just like, hunting enthusiasts filming like hunting videos and thinking they're hot shit, but probably are selling like 3 copies.
Yeah.
And Brolin's trying to take his, 12-year-old son on his first hunting trip, not realizing his son could give a fuck. And they're, the movie's about them trying to bond. And there are moments that are really genuine and really good. But for me, it was like, is this a comedy? Is this a drama? It didn't commit to either one. So it kind of got lost. And just not a lot of people talking about it. I wanted to give it a shot because I'm a big fan of Brolin and McBride. So now I've seen it, and I don't really have much to say about it. It's kind of one of those movies. It's like, I've seen it, so moving on.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I remember watching it like when it came out with some of my friends, and we were all like, "The fuck is this?" Just such an odd film. Just so like people made that. Like humans were like, "Yeah, let's get together and work on this." And I thought it was kind of funny, kind of clever. Little satire type stuff, but yeah, I'm probably never gonna watch it again. Just came and went in my life, so I totally understand that. It's weird that it's already 4 years old. Fucking crazy how time flies. It's just awesome that Josh Brolin was like, "Yeah, I'll play Thanos, but I'm also gonna do this weird fucking movie."
He had a mind blowing 2018. I mean, there was, Whitetail Deer Hunter, Infinity War, Deadpool 2, Sicario 2. Like, damn.
Was that the year? Fuck, it's escaping me. That firefighter movie. Only the Brave. I think that came out in 2018 as well, or 2017 maybe. Um,
I'm finding
I
out right
fucking
now.
fucking love that movie. Him and Miles Teller are both stellar. I thought that movie got overlooked big time.
That was 2017, but still, like,
2017.
hell of a run for Brolin. He didn't have any sleep at all.
Yeah, yeah. I like to like in my mind, I like to make up like most valuable performers of like a year. And I think Brolin in 2018 is like, hey, I want that trophy. Yeah. I'm Cable and Thanos. So pretty cool stuff. I've been watching a lot of stuff. I've hinted at this, I think last week. I'm watching a lot of stuff from a specific year that we're going to be covering on our next Best Picture Showdown. So I'm not going to really give that away quite yet, but I've been diving in. I've watched like 10 movies from this one year in the past like week and a half, and I'm having a blast. It's a great year. So excited to do that showdown in a few episodes. Uh, and then I watched the two newest episodes of Welcome to Wrexham. I watched those last night before I watched The Town. That's just it's just great hanging out with Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney. These guys are just so much fun, and now I'm a lot of this documentary was filmed last year and the year before when they were buying the club, Wrexham AFC, and now in real life, Wrexham is like they've played 7 games so far this season, and they're in second place, and I'm like, come on, Wrexham, like I'm like one of their fans now because this documentary and because these two guys who bought it, it's really cool, and I love their dedication to it, and I'm excited to continue with this show because it's just so far up my alley, combining these two guys I've known for years and years of my life as entertainers, combining it with my favorite sport. So it's been a lot of fun. Uh, and then I watched a new film from this year. It's on Peacock right now, and it's The Black Phone, the horror film. Mr. Ethan Hawke, my movie dad, and my God, it's like one of my 5 to 10 favorite performances of his career already. He's just so fucking creepy. And when he's sitting in the chair with his mask on and like a shirt off, and he's just his feet are open, open stance, and he's just sitting in a chair holding a belt. I'm like, man, Ethan Hawke is frightening in this movie. Um, I liked it. I didn't like love the movie as a whole. I loved him in it. I thought it was good, but I wasn't like, oh, this is a horror classic. I didn't quite get that vibe. I thought it was, I'll probably rewatch it later down the line. I'd love Hawk, so I'll kind of go to bat for him any day of the week. But I was like maybe a little let down because a lot of my friends were just like, oh my god, this movie's it's one of my favorite movies of the year type thing, and I'm like, I should have known that these people that I was talking to probably don't watch as many movies as I do, and I'm of course not talking about you, Connor, because you watch plenty of shit, and I take your recommendations differently than other people. But a lot of my friends were just like, "Oh my god," and I was like, "Yeah, it was good. I had a good time. Some stuff, whatever, felt like they could have chopped off a good amount of it. I thought the whole phone aspect of it was like a little tiresome at times. But again, Hawk is putting on a clinic, so that was worth it. That's really what I've been up to. And then you're watching The Town, man. Just like I can't believe I don't own this movie. I thought I did, but my brother owns it. He used to live like right next to me, and now he moved out. So I think I just thought like his shelf was my shelf type thing. Like, oh yeah, we have the same, like his collection's mine. He's given me a lot of his movies because he's trying to like minimize, his stuff, especially when it comes to non-sports stuff. So he's like, I don't need all these DVDs because I don't watch them like he doesn't watch them as that format. And I love DVDs and Blu-rays and whatever. I like physical stuff. So I thought he gave it to me or I had it. I don't know. Either way, I was safe because you have it on Vudu. I have access to that anytime I want, and it's on. I watched it on Netflix, so it's like I'm fine. It's gonna be okay. This is a perfect Netflix movie. This is one of those movies that you could be hanging out with your friends, and you're like, oh, let's check out the town. If you've never seen it, and it's like the perfect hangout. Fucking drink some beers, have some snacks, whatever, and just watch this 2 hour, just fucking thrill ride. So I hope it has a life forever. I really think it. I think it will. I think it has its fans, and I think you and I are two of them. Mr. Jeremy Renner, him being up for supporting actor is why I wanted to do this project. It's the only Oscar nomination that the town got, which I know we both have some things to say about that. We'll do that at the end of the show. We'll talk about what we think it should have been up for. But this supporting actor, category, this is our bag. This is our thing. We are obsessed with this category and what it offers and the kind of guys that are usually in it. The category didn't start until the 9th Academy Awards, and Mr. Walter Brennan, the supporting actor GOAT, as far as the Oscars go, he won the first one at the 9th Academy Awards for Come and Get It, 1936. So at first they didn't recognize this. They didn't recognize these kind of performances as statue worthy. And then as time went on, it was like, okay, well, sometimes these character actors or these quote unquote side characters can be just as impactful as our leads. And so it's worth giving them a category. And in my opinion, especially the past 20 years or so, I would prefer the performances of this category, especially best supporting actor, the male category. I'd prefer it over the lead. That doesn't mean that there's lead performances out there that I don't love. Of course there are. But there's something about a villain or a side guy who just brings the heat and adds like an extra oomph to the movie that I'm always a sucker for. And I think you feel kind of the same way.
Yeah, absolutely. I've always enjoyed kind of, the side dish, The main course is great, but I like, what's the compliment going to be?
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that. An actor who can, add to the weight of the story just by their mere presence is always just an exciting thing to watch. This has always been my favorite category, mainly because it is where the character actors get to shine and get to kind of, show their worth to the Hollywood machine. And yeah, this is we've had some killer performances in the past 20 years. It's off the top of my head, just like, J.K. Simmons and Christoph Waltz and like these powerhouse character actors who are getting their due in ways that I'm just so excited for.
Yeah, I think some of the most memorable Oscar wins from the past 20 years are, like you said, J.K. Simmons. I think Javier Bardem, Heath fucking Ledger as the Joker. These are like monumental performances, and it gives villains a space, like a special space to operate. And I think that's like what I always kind of feed off of. So we want to break it down to the 2010s, because if we did everything, it wouldn't make any sense. It'd be too much. Jeremy Renner's up for the town 2010, so we want to start with that year and go to 2019. So winners are not allowed to be on the list, on the top 5. So I'm going to go ahead and name those, because I do love some of these motherfuckers. Christian Bale won for The Fighter. Can't argue that. It's one of the best performances he's ever given us. He's kind of like a villain in the movie. Him and Melissa Leo, who also, she also got hers on the other side. They're kind of going against Mark Wahlberg, like what he really needs in his life. And they're like, we're family, like also another good Boston movie. So I do love The Fighter. I actually think we're probably going to be doing The Fighter later on this year, because the guy who directed that movie also has a movie coming out. So that'll be in a couple months. Christopher Plummer, rest in peace. He won for Beginners, 2011. Christoph Waltz, Django Unchained, 2012, and of course Django and Inglourious Bastards. This is a guy who just knows how to work this category. Christoph Waltz is one of the better supporting guys we have, the past 10, 15 years. Jared Leto won for Dallas Buyers Club 2013. It's a very interesting category, very interesting group of people there. 2014, J.K. Simmons for Whiplash. In my mind, might be the best supporting actor win we've ever seen. He is lights out in that movie, and we are both big fans of Whiplash. He kind of makes it what it is. Mark Rylance for Bridge of Spies, which is a fascinating one because Bridge of Spies hasn't really stood the test of time. It's not a movie people really talk about, and I think like everybody else in that category probably is better than him in their movies. I hate to say that. I love Mark Rylance, but I just don't think it's the strongest win we've seen. Mahershala Ali for Moonlight 2016. It's one of my favorite wins, personal favorite wins. He's got some good competition though in 2016. 2017, Sam Rockwell for Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. That was a bit of a controversial win. I remember when it happened, people had plenty to say about it. I do think it's a strong performance, and he's depicting a pretty gnarly cop in a podunk kind of town. And I thought that movie was effective, but it's not something I go back to a lot, So I do think he has competition as well. 2018, Mahershala Ali again for Green Book. This also a very controversial win where Mahershala Ali apologized on the stage to the family of the man he's playing in that movie. And it left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. And then Green Book went on to win Best Picture. Not the prettiest ceremony, that one. Peter Farrelly wasn't very socially aware during his awards run, especially at the Golden Globes. He kind of said some stupid shit. 2019, we did this movie very recently, Mr. Brad Pitt for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And that was one of the most shoe-in kind of wins we've ever seen in this category. He kind of just wiped out the competition. And I'll be honest, rightly so. There's no one that's taking that one from him. So that's our pool, 2010 to 2019. I didn't want to name any of the nominees because I don't want to step on your list and I don't want to step on my own list. We both have 5 people here, and I know we're both picking 5 people we really, really care about. And we really care about the work they're doing in this particular movie, these particular movies. So, Connor, I'll let you start with your number 5 whenever you're ready.
I had a different number 5 until about 5 minutes before we started recording, and I had a change of heart. So I just
Me too. That's funny.
I just want to say real quick that if this was a top 6, my number 6 would be Christopher Plummer for All the Money in the World.
Ooh, good shout.
Yeah. Just because, he came onto set, had 3 days to make a character. And not only did he win that movie, he got an Oscar nomination for his trouble. That's an impressive achievement right there.
Yeah, that's 2017. I would say that performance is just as good or better than Sam Rockwell's for that particular category.
But my true number 5 is Nick Nolte in Warrior.
I knew this would be on yours because, goddamn, this movie's so underrated.
Warrior, this was also the only nomination that Warrior got.
Yeah.
And that is a fucking travesty. That movie is magical. Just a brilliant depiction of a family gone wrong because of just fucked up bullshit. And Nick Nolte is the father figure who is responsible for creating, 2 brothers with vastly different lives. And he is trying to fix this. One of them is open to reconciliation. The other one wants fuck all to do with him and just drives him further and further down this black hole. And you feel it. Nolte's performance is so incredible and so real. And just, I'm glad the Academy recognized him. Shame he didn't win, but because of that nomination, we one day get to do it on the show. So.
Oh yes, we will be doing Warrior one day. That will happen. I really, really like Warrior. If I had to give someone something, like one thing from that movie, it's Nick Nolte. He's lights out in that movie. There's scenes where he's yelling and you can see his like blood vessels popping.
Yeah.
He's so into it. And yeah, Nick Nolte's not a guy that gets talked about enough these days. And he's great in Warrior.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I had to kind of just think it over and be like, you know what? I know what belongs there.
I love that. I think you made the right call. I think And I've heard you talk about Warrior plenty of times, and I know your kind of admiration for it. So that's a good call. I also had two people from the same year, and I was like, you know, in my head, I was like, okay, which one do I like better? And all day, I had Edward Norton from Birdman all day, and I was like, you know what? I got to go with my dad. Like, I got to go with my father, my movie father, Ethan Hawke as Mason Evans Sr. in Boyhood. That movie is honestly could get so fucked up if him and Patricia Arquette are not there because you're dealing with a lot of people who are not actors, and you can tell they give the movie a certain gravitas, a certain quality that lets it keep writing the way it's going, and they give it of course Linklater is the man, and he had this cool vision of making a movie over over a decade, and an achievement in itself. But what Hawke and Arquette are doing in this movie as the mother and father of these two children that we're following the whole film is so special. And Hawke is so believable as a dad who wasn't present and then comes back around and like chips away and chips away and chips away. By the end of it, you're like, he's a pretty good dad. This guy gives a shit, you know? It took him a minute, but he gives a shit. By the time his son graduates high school, he's like very involved and has now a family of his own. You know, he has a new wife and another child, and he's really giving it his all. And you believe Ethan Hawke like is this guy. And I like weep. I weep when I watch certain scenes from Boyhood. In particular, there's a scene when they're in Houston. They're about to go to an Astros game at Minute Maid Park, and they're playing tag at this park before they go to the baseball game. And I'm trying to remember the song that's playing because the soundtrack's so cool. I think it's called "My Good Gal." I think is the name of the song, and that song is playing. It's real nice, kind of soft, like folky type song. And he's playing tag with these two kids. They're kind of jumping around, and I'm like, oh my god, like this is a dad. This is a dude who cares and is present and wants to make memories. And then later they go to the baseball game, and then they go home, and his son Mason Jr. is like, "Is magic real?" He asks his dad, "Is magic real?" And he's like, "Well, what do you mean?" And he's like, "Well, like elves and wizards." You're like, "Dad, like, is that stuff real?" And he's like, "Well, I don't know, but if I told you," he goes on this tangent about whales, the dad, and he's like, goes on and on about them and like what they do and like how they have, shoot out water from the top of their head and everything. He's like, "If I told you that, wouldn't you say that's pretty magical too?" And the son's like, "Huh, it's just like, fuck." Like, that's what I have a daughter now, and that's how I want to speak to her is like, you're allowed to have that kind of imagination with real life. You're like allowed to feel that way. Fantasy and magic and all those things don't need to be stuff that you read from Harry Potter. It can be like things that you see. And Ethan Hawke, Mason Sr. in this movie, like embodies that. And it makes me just fucking break down every time I watch that movie. I'm very biased towards Linklater, very biased towards that particular film, and I had to have Ethan Hawke on my list.
Yeah, there's no way we're going to do a pool involving Ethan Hawke and he's not going to end up on your list.
Yeah. Even if I'm lying to myself, he's got to be there.
But it is cool, I think one of the coolest things you can do as a parent is instill a sense of wonder into your child that stays with them for the rest of their life. I mean, that's what my mom did for me, and that's why I'm, so whimsical. But yeah, it's definitely a good strategy. Yeah, Boyhood is an interesting film. I liked it. I didn't expect to like it because I thought Linklater makes a movie over the span of 10 years. This smells like a gimmick. And then I watched it. And I'm like, no, this is actually a very powerful story of life.
Yeah.
So yeah, good call. Very good call.
Yeah. One day we'll do it. It is a 3-hour movie. It's like not the easiest podcast movie to do, but one day I'm sure it'll pop up. And of course, if we do, we do Birdman, we're going to be covering the other Best Picture nominees, and Boyhood is very much in that category, and has something to say about it. So it'll come up one day. What's your number 4?
My number 4 is one of. Now I know I'm not alone in this, but it just it felt too good to be true. And I wanted him to win, but the Academy was like, does he deserve an Oscar? I guess not. And that is Sylvester Stallone as Rocky motherfucking Balboa in 2015's Creed.
Yeah, I mean, he deserves it over Mark Rylance.
Yes, he does. He won the Globe.
At least.
He put the work in. He created Rocky. He played him the entire franchise, showed us the journey of this, bruiser turned boxer turned husband turned father turned cool uncle. And he's just the man. And he's playing such a fragile, near broken version of Rocky who's lost everything and is, been diagnosed with cancer and he's done fighting. He doesn't want to fight. He's like, I want to see Adrian again. Why should I stay here? And Adonis gives him something to fight for, gives him a chance to rectify the worst mistake of his life, which was not throwing in the towel on Apollo. And that story is so fucking good and so tight. And Stallone and Michael B. Jordan are so good together. And I thought this was his time. I thought this was Stallone is going to get, his due for Rocky Balboa, and he didn't fucking get it. And that pissed me off so much.
Yeah. That you remember when we watched this movie when we were in Los Angeles?
Yeah.
It was just on TV and we were like, fuck it, this movie rules. Let's watch it. And the chemistry he has with Michael B. and Tessa Thompson is really cool, really unique for this old guy who's been around forever. And I do think giving him the respect of being in what now he's been in 8 fucking Rocky / Creed movies now. I do think it would be cool to give him kind of that respect, that it's past due type thing. That's a tough year though. He's going against Mark Ruffalo, who's great in Spotlight, and Tom Hardy is amazing in The Revenant. Yeah. Christian Bale, pretty good in The Big Short, not his best work, but I think any of those guys should have taken it over Rylance, and I would have no problem with Stallone.
Yeah, I don't, Bridge of Spies, the Academy sees Steven Spielberg's name and they just get hard. And I don't really, It's like, you gave him 2, you can stop. Like, dude's old. He doesn't need it anymore. But Stallone is just, back in 76, he didn't win screenplay, he didn't win actor. He went up on stage to accept picture with the producers, but it wasn't his victory. And this was his last chance. And I wonder if it's just like, I think the Academy, all they saw was, Cobra and Stop or My Mom Will Shoot and fucking Rhinestone Cowboy. And they just said, that man doesn't deserve an Oscar. They didn't take this into account. They didn't take into account his beautiful performance in Creed. And that's fucked up.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you. I like that. I figured you'd have that on your list. Just, I know you have an admiration for Warrior, but you have a bigger admiration for Stallone and what he did for the Rocky, or what he's done for the Rocky franchise. I also think Michael B. probably should have been nominated for Best Actor, Best Lead Actor. He was great. This, of course, is part of the Spike Lee led Oscars So White type thing. It's like, hey, you have this thing right in front of you, and you're gonna nominate these other clowns instead of him. And I get it. Totally understand. At the time, I think I was kind of like, well, it's a boxing movie. Now I'm like, no, it's a badass boxing movie about like regret and family and trauma and sickness and like coping mechanisms and like all these things wrapped up into a boxing movie. And it's special. That was really cool. I'll never forget when we watched random shit at that hotel in Los Angeles, and that was one of the movies we watched. Good stuff. My number 4 is a bit different. A little bit more silly. I do love when a wacky ass performance gets in there. Jonah Hill, Wolf of Wall Street as Donnie.
Yeah.
This is one of the most absurd Oscar nominations of all time, but I love it. I love it so much because he's fucking ridiculous in this movie. Jonah Hill, he was nominated for Moneyball a couple years before that for Best Supporting Actor. Love him in that movie, but there's no one that can do what he's doing in Wolf of Wall Street. There's probably people who could do what he's doing in Moneyball, but in Wolf of Wall Street, it's like, holy hell, like Jonah is just on one. And he, his like favorite movie of all time is Goodfellas. He's spoken a lot about that. He's spoken a lot about his admiration for Martin Scorsese. And he was like, I'll do anything to work for him to be in one of his movies. So he accepted like he made like 20 grand and was in this movie. And he gets an Oscar nomination out of it. He gets now to be a part of Scorsese's, incredible filmography, and in this movie alongside Leonardo DiCaprio. So he gets to kind of he's like a student with this role, and he kind of becomes like the star of the show a few times in this movie. He's so fucking ridiculous. In particular, I love the scene where he actually eats a fish. Jonah Hill actually, because he's so mad at this guy who's feeding his fish when they're like, they're trying to do their business and whatnot, and fucking scheme and scam people left and right. And this guy's feeding his fish at his desk, and he's like, yeah, so this is what I'm gonna do, and he fucking eats the fish. Jonah Hill actually did that, and those things matter to me a lot. When you're just willing to be fucking crazy, I respect that. I love the stuff between him and John Bernthal in this movie, where John Bernthal is like, "You're a fucking moron. I want nothing to do with you, and please get away from me." I love when he meets him in the parking lot. And he's acting like he's drunk, and he's like, fucking losing his mind. His comedic timing in Wolf of Wall Street is impeccable, and to go toe to toe with Leo while smoking crack is something most people could never even dream of. So I hats off to Jonah. I love that movie. It's a movie I can rewatch any day of the week. It's so fucking fun. I don't feel the runtime at all because I'm just having a blast, and Jonah Hill's a big part of it. Donnie, my man.
Yeah, so far there've been no surprises here.
Yeah.
This is a great, insane movie. For me, nothing beats the superludes scene where they both just collapse and are just moaning at each other, unable to form words.
Yeah. And Leo sees Popeye on the TV screen, and he's like, "Ah!" He saves Donnie's life. He's fucking choking. Yeah. God, I love that stuff. I love when they take the ludes and they start working out because they're like, we got to start sweating so it gets to our bloodstream faster.
I love how they meet. Just he shows up and he's like, "You show me a pay stub for like what was it, like $700,000 or something like that."
Yeah,
like, I quit my job right now. I come work for you. He just
Yeah.
like, here you go. Shows him the pay stub. He's immediately like, "Hey, I quit." That was a great introduction to this wild character who's clearly just willing to do anything for the right price.
Yeah.
And those are the best characters. People who just like have no qualms, no like love for themselves. They're just like, you give me a dollar sign and I am your man.
Yeah. And are like so politically incorrect, or just so fucked up. Like he tells that one Swedish girl, he's like, technically, honey, my money's taped to your tits, so you do work for me. And she's like, what? Like, he just says the craziest shit. And I love him. I fucking love him. He helps that movie go to a crazy stratosphere that I can never get enough of. Steve Madden.
It has been so fucking long since I've sat down and watched that thing in its entirety. I gotta do that.
Yeah, you definitely should, man. It is just so fucking crazy, and a really wild Scorsese turn, where it's like, man, this guy's old and he's making this movie. Like, holy hell, he still has those kind of creative juices flowing, where he's like, I still want to make stuff just pop out at people and make people kind of squirm almost. Make my audience wonder, why am I supposed to be watching this? Is this a little too fucked up? Probably.
Yeah, I mean, he's still at it. His next project has the potential to be his best work since Goodfellas. I cannot wait. I love that he hasn't just given up. He's still trying.
Yeah, he's clearly has stuff left in the tank. And yeah, I'm all in. I cannot wait for his new film. Even though it got pushed back, I have high hopes for it. I was so ready to do a big Goodfellas episode. Also talk about his new movie this fall. I was so ready for that. We'll have to wait. It's okay. What's your number 3?
My number 3, hard left turn from the whimsical wackiness of Wall Street. A film we covered on this show, had a difficult time because it's a rough fucking movie. Michael Fassbender in 2013's 12 Years a Slave as one of the most evil, malicious sons of bitches ever to put on film, and that is Edwin Epps. the slave owner who basically, kidnaps Solomon Northup. And what this man does over the course of this film is so heinous that I don't really want to get back into it. But
yeah, I know what you mean.
Michael Fassbender's performance in that movie is remarkable. He is so hateable, so pure evil. It's a wonderful performance that shows what this man was really capable of. And there was a time where Michael Fassbender was like, Oscar nominations left and right. He was in insanely big projects. And then I don't know what happened, but he's like fallen off the map. I don't know if The Snowman took a huge chunk out of his career or Assassin's Creed or whatever it was, but I don't feel like I haven't seen him in a long time.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I think he's made some odd decisions. That definitely is a big part of it. I think his partnership with Steve McQueen and like not continuing that has hurt him big time, because he does Hunger, Shame, and 12 Years a Slave all with Steve McQueen. They clearly have an understanding.
Yeah.
Between director and performer, and he's lights out in those movies. And in 12 Years a Slave, it is one of the most disgusting, evil, performances we've ever seen at the Oscars. It's that kind of thing. If I really, Jonah Hill's nominated the same year for Wolf of Wall Street. Jonah Hill has no business being in the same discussion as Fazzy for the actual Oscar. Like Jared Leto, cool, neat performance, but I don't think it comes close to what Fassbender does. I really don't.
He went to such a painful, dark, evil place that I'm just happy he was able to find his way out of that when the filming was over. Because I can't imagine, I often wonder that about people who in movies play, slave owners and Nazis and Klan members, and like, how do they go to that place and find their way back? I mean, that's got to be horrifying.
Yeah, what's even more horrifying is there's people who like it. There's actors who are like, no, I will go there. You just never know what's deep down inside these people. With this guy, with Michael, I do think it's how far can I push myself? And again, like, I want to work with Steve McQueen, and Steve McQueen wants to work with me. I think it's that kind of a thing with him. Just he's so scary good in that movie. Yeah, we covered it not that long ago. We did a showdown for 2013, and we both, it was a tough episode. I'll say that. That's for sure. But I do think he should have won the Oscar that year, as far as what was the best of that category. So we both have 2013 there. Okay, that's good. So you've got Nick Nolte, Sylvester Stallone, Michael Fassbender. I've got Hawk, Jonah Hill, and now my third is Mr. Jeremy Renner, the guy we're going to be talking about more today. James Coughlin, The Town. Come on, this is, without him, you don't have The Town. Without Jeremy Renner being fucking ridiculous and saying crazy shit and being like, what am I gonna do? If I'm not fucking robbing people and killing people and stealing shit, what am I gonna do with my life? He's the ultimate wild card. Wild card bitches. Like, he's the ultimate of that in any movie I've ever fucking seen. And especially in a heist movie, you need a guy who's like so aggressive and wants to hurt people. And that scene when they go to that guy's apartment, and Ben Affleck's like, you can't ask me about it. You can never, not again, not in the future, but we're going to go somewhere and we're going to hurt some people. And he's like drinking a Budweiser, watching TV, and he's like, whose cab we taking? He's that guy who's like, cool, it's Tuesday, I get to go fuck some shit up. Like, that sounds great. Like, that's Jeremy Renner in The Town. And he goes over there and he fucking shoots a guy in the leg. And he's like, he pulls the mask up and he's like, you see this face? Just remember, I've seen yours too. He's so ridiculously good in this movie. I get why he was nominated. I think maybe he has a chance to beat Christian Bale in this category. Like, he's that good in it. I fucking love Jem. He's a guy you have to have in a movie like this. Otherwise, it just gets boring.
My favorite bit of that whole scene is the end of it when they're driving back. It exemplifies his character so well. It's when Affleck's like, you can't just shoot people like that. And Jem's like, hey, you brought me.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah,
you know what I'm about.
yeah,
So
yeah.
what's the conversation here?
You took me for a reason. Yeah, yeah. God, I fucking love it. I love everything about him, and I can't wait to talk more about that movie and like what he's offering as we continue with the episode. So yeah, that's my number 3 for sure.
Beautiful. I'm glad you had that. He's a rock star in this movie.
The Sox are losing 2-1 to the Orioles.
You can't make a Boston movie and not at least one time mention the Sox. You can't do it.
Yeah, and the Sox are like well represented in this movie. You know, Ben Affleck has the jacket at every bar they go to. The Sox are on TV because very smart move. They film it during the summer so that it's sunny outside, not snowing everywhere. The Sox are playing, and of course the finale at Fenway Park.
Yeah,
is just brilliant. So yeah, they really hone in on the Boston Red Sox being kind of like the focal point of that city.
Well, I love that they're randomly just wearing shirts that literally just say Boston or
Yeah.
Irish or just like it's like, yeah, we know.
Yeah.
We get it.
You fucking work at Sand and Gravel just like you did in Goodwill Hunting, bitch. Yeah. Yeah, we get it. Ben Affleck, how many hours of work does he week at Sand and Gravel, do you think?
45 minutes, maybe.
Yeah, it's not full time. Tell you
No.
that.
Yeah, he shows up to wear the hat the day after a heist just in case.
He's got a deal going on with the manager, the project manager over there at Sand and Gravel, so that he covers for him. Yeah, I love that so much. I always thought it was so funny. There's only one scene where he's actually like at work.
And what's he doing? He's like sitting down.
He's just like having a smoke break.
He's wearing a hard hat. That's what he's doing.
And he takes it off immediately when he sees the cop cars. He's like, that's me, Doug. Oh, Jesus Christ. All right, what's your number 2?
My number 2 is I didn't know this guy had this in him until I saw 2018's A Star Is Born and saw Sam Elliott deliver a performance of the ages.
Yeah, this almost made my list. Almost. Fuck.
He's always just been, the dude with the big bushy mustache, the cowboy guy. Like, I didn't know he could go there. And his performance alongside Bradley Cooper, there are moments that are just absolutely heartbreaking that prove to me that like he should have gotten so many more big movies over, the course of his like 40-year career. And I think it's kind of sad that we all just know him as like the guy with the mustache, because like the scene where he is dropping off Bradley Cooper and Cooper just turns and says like, by the way, I never looked up to Dad. I looked up to you. And they both just collapse. Holy shit, man. How is there's not a dry eye in the fucking house?
Yeah.
Dear God. And yeah, I was pulling for him so hard. I thought just that recognition would have meant so much to what his, career has been. But the Academy really liked Green Book.
Yeah, they really did. They really liked Mahershala Ali, and they really liked Green Book. And I love Mahershala Ali too, but I would have given this to Sam Elliott for sure. I thought he was just spectacular in that movie. That scene is so powerful that you're talking about when he's taking him home from rehab.
Yeah.
The way Sam Elliott puts the car in reverse and puts his hand on like the passenger seat headrest is like the best performance I've ever seen in 5 seconds. He's so good in that movie. So that's a great shout. That's probably my number 6, 7, or 8. It's right outside my list. I had a hard time cutting it. Very, very special movie to me. I would love to cover that movie on this show. I think it'd be a really, really good episode. We were both very pleasantly surprised by it when it came out in theaters. We were still working at Draft House, and actually I think I had just left in 2018. Yeah, like I left in like September, October, and I know this movie came out in October, so I must have been close to leaving around that time. But I still would go back, and watch movies there. And I saw that movie with my mom, my dad, and my now wife Brianna, and we all four were like sobbing by the end of it. Just like just ruined. Ruined in the best way though. Like you just saw art, and cool movie.
I think the emotional trauma of the ending didn't quite hit me because I overheard somebody talking about it. Like somebody at work was like, I can't believe he hung himself. And I'm like, fuck you. Like,
I knew about that because I knew about the other movies, and at the beginning of the movie, they pretty much tell you like this guy's going down a really dark path a few times. Like they show like nooses in the background at one point, and you're just kind of like, all right, I think this is not gonna be pretty, you know?
I didn't know about, I knew about the other movies, but I hadn't seen them. I didn't know plot details. So this was my introduction to that story. And yeah, it's hard to top. I mean, I've seen the Judy Garland one now, and that was very good. But also, you know, again, bloated. Not her, like not her, the movie. I want to make that
Yeah,
clear.
yeah.
But so I've got, you know, two more to watch, and I'm sure they'll do it again in 20 years.
Yeah. I wonder who it'll be. You know, is it gonna be Timothy Chalamet and Saoirse Ronan? You know, like who's who's gonna be the fucking two people? Yeah, because you gotta be like in your late 30s or 40s to be in A Star Is Born. You know.
Yeah. Be interesting if they swapped it. Like an aging, you know, female country singer or something meets a young, you know, male upstart who starts to upstage her. Swap the gender swap it. That might be interesting.
I like that. It's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. You might want to change it, you know, because it has happened like 4 times now. So yeah, maybe change it up just a bit. But yeah, I do really like that movie, and Sam Elliott is maybe the best part of it. So good shout there. That's your number two.
Yes.
All right, my number two. If you know me, you should know my one and two. You should know these two guys are like two of my favorite people to ever live. So my number two is Willem Dafoe, in the Florida Project, for playing Bobby Hicks, the motel manager in that brilliant film. Oh boy, you know, I'm just a huge fan. One of my favorite movies from 2017, and Dafoe it's kind of like he could have retired type performance like after it. He could just be like, yeah, there's nothing else for me to do. Like I just gave like the most dramatic, brilliant, funny performance, you know, where I'm kind of doing everything with very little to work with. Um, just the way he moves in that movie, the way he talks to his, you know, patrons, the way he talks to people who are staying at the motel, the way he smokes a cigarette, the way he does the laundry, the way he stocks the vending machine. He's just acting the whole time. You know, that's just him. That's Defoe, you know. And I've talked about this movie before when we did a top 5 Willem Dafoe performances. It is just very near and dear to my heart, and I'll kind of go, you know, go to bat for that movie really whenever. I think it's really special and should be more talked about. I think it has its, you know, little cult following, but I do think it's again one of the better movies from that decade, and certainly from that year. I think that one, Get Out, and Coco are like just so special and should be remembered forever.
Florida Project is regrettably the only one thus far I have not yet seen. I gotta do that. If it hadn't been for fucking Kong, I would have probably like done some more extra work for this one.
That's hilarious. Fucking Kong took you away from Defoe. It is the only nomination the movie got. The Florida Project, it was up just Defoe. This is part of Defoe's kind of like renaissance, you know.
Yeah.
He has put together a really nice resume over the past 10 years or so, and just doesn't he just won't stop, you know. And I'm all in on it. I have to really think about it, but he's probably one of my 10 like favorite actors of all time. Just and him, just the guy, the person he is. I feel like I could hang out with him and he wouldn't be intimidating, but I'd also still be kind of starstruck. You know, I'd be like, wow, like that's fucking, that's Mr. Osborne. You'd have that. That's fucking Gil from Finding Nemo. That's this guy that I've been watching for pretty much my entire life since I saw Spider-Man and Finding Nemo as a kid. He's been there with me the whole time, and I've only grown to like him more. Like The Lighthouse. It's my favorite performance of his of all time, and it just came out not that long ago. And so he's just the fucking man. I'm so happy he's a person and that he like is a part of this world that we're obsessed with. Defoe's just a one of a kind.
Oh, without a doubt. He's one of those, definitive character actors who's been in the business for 40 plus years and is still just committed every single time to giving his best work. I'm in awe of the man. I mean, I just think of Spider-Man No Way Home. Like he could have just, taken $8 million and said, like, I'll show up for 2 seconds. You'll see my face. I'll go home. But no, he's like, I want to do my own stunts. I want to be the main villain. Like, I want to come back. And he is like, he's even better in that than he is in the 2002 Spider-Man. Like it's amazing. He is so good.
Yeah, so committed, and it's like he doesn't care who's around him. He's just like the actor's actor who's like, I'll fucking go for it. I'll give it my best howl. And I love that about him, man. So yeah, he was always going to be on this list. Anytime I think of supporting actor nominations, I'm like, man, I really wish he would have won. That would have been really neat.
I mean, it could still happen. I don't know.
Yeah, no, yeah. I wish he would have won for this because I think he's better than Sam Rockwell. But I also hope one day he gets his. I really, really do. I think it would be a cool way to see him on the stage with a statue would be a really neat thing for like me to experience as a fan. And I think I'm speaking for a lot of people.
Yeah, there's certain actors when they have that moment, you're like, I get to see that. I get to see him
Yeah.
hold career recognition in the form of a gold man.
Yeah. Yeah. Godspeed. All right. Number ones. What do we have the same motherfucker as our number one?
Considering I haven't heard this guy yet on yours, if he's not there, I'm going to be incredibly surprised.
Richard E. Grant for Can You Ever Forgive Me?
You read my mind. I haven't seen that. I want to. I love Richard E. Grant. But
yeah, but come on,
obviously this goes to Lancaster Dodd, Philip Seymour Hoffman from The Master, except no substitutes.
Yeah. But above all, I am a man. He should have been up for Best Actor. It's like this is unfair. We've talked about supporting roles here pretty much the entire time. This is not really a supporting role. This is like I own this movie. I am that I am type thing. And it's my favorite thing he's ever done. And he's my favorite person to ever do this. And so there's just no question. I made the top 5 so I could talk about it. I was like, oh, I get the chance to talk about how Hoffman should have fucking destroyed the competition. Yeah, let's do it. I love Christoph Waltz and Django, but PSH should have been up for Best Lead Actor, and him or Joaquin Phoenix should have won.
Over DDL. Interesting.
Yeah, for Lincoln, yeah, it's not his best stuff. Like DDL's 3 wins should be There Will Be Blood, Gangs of New York, and My Left Foot, not Lincoln. It should have been Gangs.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. This is, just knowing the history of this movie, knowing what Paul Thomas Anderson's really talking about, and knowing just what these actors are capable of. This is a masterclass in subtlety, in pain, and just suppressed rage from fucking everyone. It is such a powerful movie, like hidden beneath a sheet of like smarm. It's so like everyone knows, everyone's full of shit, but it's the game they're playing. I see it differently every time I watch it. I see it as like a long con. I see it as actual faith. I see it as just insanity, just a fever dream. It's different every time. It's really a remarkable film.
Yeah, you're not getting any arguments here, man. I think it's one of the signature movies of the 2010s. I think we're gonna look back at this movie forever, and quite frankly, be like, there was a master at work here. And Paul Thomas Anderson and PSH and Amy Adams and Joaquin, these people were just fucking on it, and the score and the cinematography in this movie, like everything is just like holy hell. And no one cared. No one on that crew was like, we're about to make $200 million, baby. They were like, no, we're making art here. We're like really trying to do something that no one else has ever done, and while still doing that really cool PTA thing where he's like, I recognize everything that's come before me. And I'm no greater than it, but it is no greater than me. And so we're playing together, and even the name Lancaster Dodd is like, oh man, like it's just so fucking cool. And PSH is embodying his best Burt Lancaster and, being like, hey, I see you, you may not be with us anymore, but I see
you. Yeah, I'm so glad we did this. This was one of my favorite episodes we've done of Oscar Sunday. The Master there was a passion there that shone through. It was fucking fantastic. And yeah, just having Philip Seymour Hoffman's career to look at, to peruse, to enjoy is a great gift.
Yeah, well said. There's a reason we have our big performance award named after this guy. We both are huge fans, and God, it's already been 8 years. It's been 8 fucking years since he passed away, and what he left here is just far greater than what most people leave. Before they leave this part of life, as far as we know, and. This is my favorite. So to be able to talk about it, to do a top 5 and have it at number 1, and you also had it at number 1, it's like, oh, that's fucking cool. But our other 4 are completely different.
Yeah, I was not expecting. There was no overlap.
Yeah, the only overlap is number 1. So your number 5 is Nick Nolte, Warrior, 2011. Sylvester Stallone in Creed, 2015. Michael Fassbender, 2013, 12 Years a Slave. Sam Elliott in Star is Born, 2018, and Philip Seymour Hoffman in The Master, 2012. I had Ethan Hawke in Boyhood, 2014. Jonah Hill in Wolf of Wall Street, 2013. Jeremy Renner, 2010, The Town, of course. Willem Dafoe, The Florida Project, 2017. And then, of course, Mr. Philip Seymour Hoffman. Lancaster fucking Dodd. Just so cool. So before we move on to our town, our proper town conversation, what's your favorite winner from this decade? Is it J.K. Simmons?
It's got to be. His performance in Whiplash scares the fuck out of me every time I watch it. Yeah. Every time I'm like, when is he going to throw it? What's he going to scream? What line did I forget? Like, it's frightening. I've got members of my family who will not watch it because of their own personal traumatic experiences with bullies in the past. Like, it gets into their heads. It's insane. Like, it really is a psychological thriller above all else. And J.K. Simmons delivers the best work he has ever done.
Yeah. You know me, and one of my favorite things to do, because this goes right into our heist conversation with the town. I love taking a best supporting actor category, take those 5 guys and put them in a heist movie. I love doing that in my head. So J.K. Simmons, Robert Duvall, Ethan Hawke, Edward Norton, and Mark Ruffalo. All right. So if there's 5 spots here, I'd say Robert Duvall, because he's the oldest, is like the guy who's like kind of controlling everything. He doesn't actually do any of the dirty work, but he's kind of like making the marks. He's calling the shots. Who's the driver of the other 4 guys?
Ruffalo. He's got a clear head under pressure. I trust him. I feel like I could trust him with something big. So he's my guy. He's the guy I rely on to get it done.
Okay, so you got Ruffalo, the driver. Now we need like a team leader, a guy who's like, all right, this is when we go here. This is point A to point B. Ethan Hawke, Edward Norton, or J.K. Simmons?
I feel like it would be Ethan Hawke, but Edward Norton would think it was him.
Okay, well there you go. So Ethan Hawke is Ben Affleck, and Edward Norton is Jeremy Renner, and he's like fucking hothead who's like, ah.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, he's like, I gotta just fuck somebody up. I have to. Edward Norton would be perfect for that. So J.K. Simmons is like the other guy.
He's the guy who's been doing this for 30 years. He's got a cool head. He knows what he's doing. And he's constantly like looking at these younger guys like, how the fuck did I end up with you?
Yeah. Yeah. So like for J.K. Simmons, he's like, look, I got a family. I got a family to feed. I'm collecting a paycheck here. The rest of you fuckers are like going out and partying after you get the money. I'm doing this as a job, and I'm going home and I'm not talking about it.
All I'm thinking of is Garth Pancake from The Lady Killers.
Yes. Oh, I'd watch the fuck out of that movie. 2014, best supporting actor. category heist movie, I would watch that shit easily. I mean, Ethan Hawke and Edward Norton, like as like kind of like going head to head, would be a dream.
Yeah, this is a cool exercise. I like that. That's fun.
Oh yeah, sometimes I'll for fun, like if I'm bored, I'll just scroll. And I'll even go to now because I know more. I'll go to like the older years and I'll like just scroll and land on a like random one. And I'm like, all right, here we go. If because you know every heist movie you got to have a driver, you got to have like a team leader. There's always like an older guy who calls the shots. The supporting actor category it like always lends itself to that. You know, there's always like an older guy. There's always like someone who's like, oh, he would take over. He's the alpha. You know, and there's always a guy who could be a driver.
Well, there's a reason for that because the best actor category, best actress categories are always like, you know, big names, big stars. The supporting categories are ensemble pieces. That's always what they are. So they already lend themselves to that kind of mold.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I could do this all day. Honestly, we could do a whole episode just scrolling through because now I'm looking at 2016 and I'm like, stop, Austin. You got to stop. We got to talk about the town. Because
That's cool.
It's such a neat exercise. But the town is what we're talking about, but even better because they use specific actors. They use a driver who like only appears in Boston movies, is born and bred from Boston. He like doesn't do anything else. He's like, I only show up when you film in Boston. That's what I'm doing. Then you got Ben Affleck, who's the star. He's like unquestionably the guy you see on the poster. You're like, oh my god, Ben Affleck. And Jeremy Renner is like, you know, he's behind him, but he's still a noteworthy guy. And then you got the other guy, the other like young guy who's like just there, but he's like, you know, he's just as important as the next guy in a heist job. But in the movie, he's like, we need someone that no one knows who he is. If that was Christian Bale, it'd be distracting. It'd be really distracting. So you need kind of like a hierarchy. And this movie does it so well. And then you have Chris Cooper as Ben Affleck's dad. That's a like deep cut character actor that only certain people will like really recognize right off the bat. Pete Postlethwaite, who's like a legendary like, you know, film actor and stage actor who unfortunately passed away like right after this movie came out. This is one of the very last things that he did. And then you have the up and coming Blake Lively and, you know, Rebecca Hall. Like they did it so well, the way they kind of cast this movie and gave it a clear hierarchy of like who's the most important, who can kind of be like a low key kind of person.
Yeah, like Jon Hamm is just old enough to
Perfect.
be
Yeah,
a grizzled Fed who has a white whale, but not, you know, too young where you don't believe it. He's the perfect age to be like obsessed with this.
Mm-hmm.
That's
exactly right. That's definitely taking notes from Heat on that one. And they're like, all right, this is like the perfect guy. And one of my favorite things about this movie too is they really let it fly with Ben Affleck and Renner doing the Boston accent and being like fucking just turn it up to 11. Jon Hamm can't do it. So they're like, don't do it. Just don't do it. It's fine. Not everybody in Massachusetts talks like this, you know? Like, well, it's okay.
You just get the vibe that like he was obviously transferred here. He looks down on these people. He thinks they're fucking dopes. He even mocks the accent at one point when they arrest Affleck. Like I totally bought that. I was like, yeah, he doesn't want to be here. He's probably from New York or something.
Like, yeah. He's just he could be a fucking Midwestern boy who's like, I'm from the country. I'm better than all these fucking townies. You know, like that's just how I feel, man.
I love that. He like pissed off somebody and now he's working, you know, Charlestown, where it's just heist, a heist every fucking day.
Yeah. God, so good. Well, let's dive in. Let's dive into this fucking movie. We'll do our 4 awards. The Tarantino Award for the best quote of the movie. Good luck. There's just so much awesome shit being said in this movie. Everything's just badass. You're just like, oh yeah, no one talks like this, but it's awesome. You know, it's just movie shit. The Ennio Morricone Award for the best music moment. Pretty subtle score by Harry Gregson Williams and David Buckley. Some pretty good moments in it, but also there's a few, you know, like needle drops that are nice as well. So that's an interesting one. The Philip Seymour Hoffman Award, God bless, for the best performance of the movie. And then the Roger Deakins Award for the best scene of the movie, which there are so many. There are so many rewatchable, awesome scenes. I'll let you kick it off with your Tarantino.
this was really fucking hard. And hard. And I'm going to be doing that the whole time. Just be aware of
Yeah, it's hard. Not, we're we live in Texas. It's fun to like be somebody else for a second.
Yeah. Honestly, when we were talking about the heist thing, I could just see it bleeding through. I could feel it like coming out. Like just because we were talking about a heist, it was like, oh, now you got to talk.
Yeah,
about
yeah, like, yeah. You got to say J.K. Simmons. Yeah, it can't be just like J.K. The guy, the guy who's in Spider-Man. It's like, no, it's got to be different than that.
Yeah, goth pancake. So I went with this line. It's a corny line, it's a goofy line, but it's the first line I think of when I think of this movie, and I've adopted it into my own vernacular. And it's when Doug is telling Jem, like, I'm fucking out of here. I'm not doing this anymore. And Jem's like, what do you mean? He's like, let me put it this way. I'm putting this whole fucking town in my rear view.
Yeah, yeah, like, so good.
Nobody would ever fucking say that, but I love the way he fucking says that.
Yeah, Ben Affleck in a movie would say that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like, I buy it. And it's just, it's a goofy line I've always loved.
Yeah, I love that one. I love when he's like, talking to Jeremy Renner, talking to James, and he's like, we're not going to be playing fucking house, me, your sister, and Shine. Oh, so good. He's like, I'm getting out of here, whether you like it or not. So, I love when he talks about leaving. Like, he's like, oh man, got to make a change. So good. I love this movie to death. There's a lot of those lines. There's a lot of like brilliant sentences that are just like, oh fuck yeah, like whoever wrote that down is the man. But my favorite bit of dialogue comes from the very beginning when Doug is narrating, when Ben Affleck is narrating at the beginning of the movie for the first heist. And that's, if you're gonna make a heist movie, start it off with a fucking crazy heist.
Yeah.
Do the Christopher Nolan Dark Knight thing. Do it. Like, do that. And I think Ben Affleck was like, he saw the Dark Knight and he's like, all right, if I do that for a whole fucking movie, I think I got something here. Like, I think I got something here. If I do that 3 times within a 2-hour span, I think we can make a movie here. And I'm grateful for that. That's my favorite thing Christopher Nolan's ever done for cinema.
I'm just picturing him like pitching this. I think it was Legendary who produced the movie, and he's pitching this to executives. He just has like a DVD of The Dark Knight, and he just plays the opening. And he's like,
yeah, have y'all seen this?
Yeah. He's like, so that 3 times. You give me Jeremy Renner, you give me Jon Hamm, I can make this happen.
Yeah, let me talk about Oxys, Coke, and Xbox, and we got a movie. Anyway, in all seriousness, the opening bit, when we just have these like, obligatory fucking helicopter shots of Boston, like, this is this is the town, that you're about to watch for the next 2 hours. Like, here you go. This is what it looks like. Here's some little fun facts about Charlestown and how it breeds fucking bank robbers. And you're like, it's one of those. I get it if you're like, if you're not like an adrenaline junkie and you're not a fan of like bro movies, I would get why you'd be like, this is corny as hell. This is dumb. But when I'm watching it, I'm like, oh fuck yeah, like I get amped up, And I have multiple sides to me as a movie fan. I can do the Terrence Malick thing where I'm like, oh, look at that, shot of that leaf. But I'm also like, I love the town. I love badass shit. It's okay to be a chameleon. It's okay to kind of like change and like different things. And this opening bit from Doug McRae, driver's name is Arthur Shea, former Metro police officer, 57 years old. As soon as his partner leaves with the coal bag, Artie cracks a herald, and he don't look up till the guy gets back. Marty McGuire, Cummins armored, courier, 5'10", 220, 52 years old. Picks up every Wednesday and Friday at exactly 8:12. Makes $110 a day. Carries a Sig 9, and he's about to get robbed. Fuck yeah, it's so cool. It's so badass. And then we're still watching Boston, from like a helicopter, and then it cuts to them in that van, and it cuts to Ben Affleck's face, and he's like, We're fucked if we see a helicopter. We're fucked if we see SWAT. We see a cruiser stop, take out the engine blocks, keep moving. No one needs to get hurt. And then James Coughlin, Jeremy Renner comes in hot, and you're like, oh, this guy's about to take over this movie. And he says, yeah, these gods like to test you though. They want to get ahead for $10 an hour. Don't get in their way. He completely goes against what Doug just said, like they're already clashing, and you're like, this is brilliant. This is a great setup for a heist movie, and I couldn't ask for more. I love that opening. The opening like 6 minutes from that dialogue to when to Claire is walking out into the water, and then they play the title card, the town, and you're like, oh my god, this is perfect.
Yeah, that's a hell of a hook. You're drawn in immediately. Like you're either in or out. It really is like, this is what this movie is. You've got time to turn it off. Are you in or are you out?
Yeah. Do you want to watch guys scream at each other and like shoot guns and rob stuff, or do you want to like walk your dog? I don't know. Like, I want to watch The Town. Yeah.
I love the opening like quotes beforehand. Like the one guy just says Charlestown, man, is like, I'm proud of being from Charlestown. It ruined my life, but I'm proud of it. It's like, damn, man.
I thought that was so funny because it just embodies like, yeah, this place is fucked, but I love it. Just like, what? It's that self-acceptance of like, this is where I'm at, and like I don't know where to go. I'm just trapped.
There's certain places in the world where it's not, this is where this is where I'm at. It's, this is who I am.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you get that vibe the whole time. Like the idea of leaving isn't even entertained by Jem. He's like, you don't leave Charlestown. Like,
yeah,
you go to prison. Like,
yeah. He's like, and that's Boston. That's like, there are like big cities in the United States where they're so prideful. Like, I live in San Antonio. We're not really like that. Like San Antonio, we're definitely like, people are proud to be Texan and be, San Antonio and have like certain cultures. But people from Boston, like, this is my town. Like, this is where I grew up, and you can't fucking take it away from me. Even though they know it's like eating at them and like chopping years away from their life.
We get a line towards the end where Affleck's on the train and he says, for the first time in my life, I'm leaving Charlestown.
Yeah, like, Jesus.
He's never left his neighborhood.
Yeah, that's fucking
I can't
nuts.
even comprehend that. Oh, wow, man.
Yeah. God, what a great movie. The Ennio Morricone Award for Best Music Moment. What do you got?
So I don't know the names of the different pieces of score here, but this is shortly after the second heist where Jon Hamm announces, close the bridge. And the driver picks up speed and just bobbing and weaving through traffic. And the music gets tense and exciting and unpredictable. And you're like, is he going to fucking crash? Is this it? Are they getting arrested here? Like, is no one going to notice the, speeding nuns flying through the opposite side of the road?
Yeah.
And it ends with Jeff, that's how you drive a fucking car. It's a fucking great line. It's a fucking, like, they made it. It's cool how this movie kind of makes you betray your allegiances. It's like, you shouldn't be rooting for the bank robbers, but you can't help it.
Oh yeah, you definitely want them to get away. You're like, please escape, get over that bridge before they close it. Yeah, and I'll be talking about that scene more later. There's so much like interesting shit with that scene, like so much cool stuff. It's my favorite stretch of the movie. I chose the track. It's called Fenway, and again, this is composed by Harry Gregson Williams and David Buckley, and it's one of those, of course, it's as they're going to Fenway, and they're Jeremy Renner and Ben Affleck are both dressed up as cops, and they're like walking into Fenway, and that guy opens the fucking garage door, and he's like, officer, he's, you didn't fucking see me, just remember that, and that the track is kind of like a Hans Zimmer type, like ticking.
Yeah,
how like Hans Zimmer does that in a lot of his big pieces where it's like. And Fenway, that track has that going for it. A lot of the score is very subtle and very sad as we're watching certain things happen in Doug's life. but there are like a few moments that pop, and that Fenway one popped for me where it just because you're like there's 30 minutes left in the movie, shit's gonna go south, so like something bad's about to happen. They're about to fucking rob Fenway Park, like one of the biggest, most popular uh, baseball stadiums in existence, and uh, I've been there. I've been to Fenway. I went to Boston about a year after this movie came out, and all I was thinking about was the town when I was in Boston. I went to a couple Celtics games. Um, Unfortunately, it was in February or March, so baseball season hadn't really started yet. So I didn't get to go to a game at Fenway. But my dad was like, "You guys want to go there, though, right?" And I was like, "Yeah, like I would love to go to Fenway. I mean, it's like the mecca of Boston." And so he was like, "Well, I bought his tickets to tour the place and like go underground and stuff." And so we got to see a lot of the places that they're walking around, in this movie. And I was only thinking about the town. I wasn't like, I'm in this great baseball place. I'm like, I wonder, I wonder where the EMT truck was parked when they, when they had the shootout. That's what was going through my brain. It's a beautiful, beautiful place. Baseball is such like a gorgeous sport, and Fenway is like a museum. It's like so beautiful and has so much history in the middle of a neighborhood, just right there, right amongst the people. And God, the usage of it in the movie is brilliant. So yeah, I love that piece of score as we're seeing Fenway and seeing our two guys walk in there about to rob them.
Yeah. Jem calls it the Cathedral of Boston. Like,
Yeah,
that is where, the people of the town worship is Fenway. And that's just, that's neat. And the music is very much like it's a ticking time bomb on these guys. And I love that because the whole time you said the score is very kind of sorrowful. That's because it's basically, this is not a life that you can lead long term. Like, this is not, this is your last option. And that's the vibe we get throughout the movies. Like, Doug was supposed to be a hockey player. He fucked up and now he's robbing banks because this is all he knows how to do. And yeah, there was no happy ending here. I mean, Ben kind of got one, but he lost everybody else. So did he really get a happy ending? I don't think so.
Yeah. I know exactly what you mean. So that's kind of the tone of it is like it's a lot of regret in this movie and a lot of tomfoolery going on. Not a lot of futures being made. So we do get a little redemption towards the end of the movie, but not a lot from everybody. The Philip Seymour Hoffman Award. Who wins the movie?
This may come as a shock to you. So I toyed with a lot of people. I had Jeremy Renner written down. I had Ben Affleck written down. And then a scene came that I will discuss later. And I realized that the secret winner of this movie is Pete Postlethwaite.
No qualms here. He is heat check in its own right.
I love a good Irish crime boss. Oh, do I love a good Irish crime boss? And knowing that he had terminal cancer when he did this, like he knew he was dying. He knew this was going to be it for him. But he still said, God damn it, I'm going to perform. And I'm going to be memorable and I'm going to do some of my best work. And he went out like a goddamn champion. And I love the character of Fergie. He is so unapologetically slimy. Just the shit he tells people, like, you like just, you want to hear I clipped your dad's nuts? Like, just what the fuck, man? It's crazy. And he's the bad guy, really, of the movie. He's the, the overarching menace that's just in Doug's head the whole movie.
Yeah. When you find out about his mom, doped up good and proper, you're like, oh my God, this guy is fucked up.
Just the casual way he's talking about this, like he's, sorting through the mail or some shit. And Doug is just collapsing into this absolute hatred and tells him, like, when this is over, I'm going to kill both of you in your own shop.
I love when Ben Affleck is like, I live at 5411 Bunker Hill Street. You know where to find me. And he, Fergie's like, okay, I got you, bitch. You just told me where you live, motherfucker. And I know about your little girlfriend, It's such an evil string of dialogue. Oh, man.
Yeah.
God, I have no problem with this man. And he almost got my Tarantino when he says when he's talking about the Fenway heist when Fergie is talking about it. He's like, cash is brought out, stacked 15 minutes before the van does the pickup, and that is when you hit on Monday morning before the game stands in New York. 60,000 beers, food, merchandise, total call $3.5 million. Taking down the Cathedral of Boston, priceless. So fucking cool. And his accent is just so thick and like you can just feel it in your skin when he's talking. I have no problem with Pete taking this.
He has always been one of my favorite character actors. Every time he popped into a movie, he was the most memorable part of it. From, fucking In the Name of the Father to James and the Giant Peach. Like he knew what he was doing. He was iconic. And then, just knowing he was on his way out and still being like, I need to work. I need to finish strong. And he turns out The Town and Inception and then leaves us like, God damn, man. Like, hell of a swan song. So
Yeah.
that's what I admire like over anything is that like he could have turned it in. He could have just, sat down and said some shit in a booth, but no, he's like, I'm gonna be the bad guy of this thing.
Yeah, and I'm gonna bring the pain. Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately he passed away. He was only like 64 years old. He still probably had some good life to live. Um if he wasn't in this movie, yeah, I mean it just isn't what it is. I these pieces totally matter. And every scene with him, just the way he's cutting the roses, you're like, oh my God, it's he's just again, he's just acting the shit out of everything. He's just like running circles around these guys when they're in the same room together. So it's a good pick, man. It's a great pick.
Everybody's so morally gray that you need one pure evil bastard to root against. That's just you need that.
Yeah, fuck yeah, I agree. He gives you a clear villain and like, all right, we don't like that guy. He's fucking with Ben Affleck. We don't like him. I chose Jeremy Renner. I definitely thought about Affleck because it's just like holy shit, we didn't know he like still had something like this in him. He's directing. It's a great movie that he kind of does everything in. So like there's that. But if I'm going just off of performance and just what's on the screen, Renner, like the movie just could be so boring without him. You need it, and people would be like, well, why isn't that guy just calm down? It's like, well, because it's a fucking movie, like you need him. You need this guy, this wild card firecracker guy who's going to die shooting at the police, and one of the coolest death scenes of all time when he's like, fuck you, he just screams out, fuck you to Jon Hamm and everybody. He's like, I'm going out shooting. I'm going out literally guns a blazing. And Jeremy Renner, when I first saw this movie, I didn't really know much about him. Didn't really know, I was 15. I saw this movie in theaters. I was kind of shocked. My dad took me to it because my dad's a big Affleck fan. And it's like, okay, well, it's a heist movie. It looks fun. But I remember watching Renner and just being like, is this guy like this? Is this like a real guy who like robs for real life? I was 15. I didn't know any better, right?
Yeah.
I thought maybe this was like a guy they like recruited, and I was like, wait, no, that's like a proper actor. And I still feel that way. I still have that little boy like Renner really disappeared and was having so much fun with this performance. What'd you do to get my brother so cranked up? And of course, the scene when they're fighting, like outside the cemetery, just legendary little brother scene where they're duking it out. He pistol whips him, and he's like, "Well, I'm leaving, whether you fucking like it or not." And he's like, "Yeah, it's your problem. You think you're better than everybody." Like it's just really really good stuff. And uh, I'm a firm believer that this movie would be boring without him, and for that reason, I had to give him the PSH. But I see an argument for a few people. I really do. I think Rebecca Hall is standing strong in this movie, and this is not got to be easy, acting with these guys who are talking with these insane accents, and they're fucking these big burly dudes, and she's playing a toonie, right? I think she does a fantastic job in this movie. I think Jon Hamm does a great job. I think Blake Lively is amazing. Chris Cooper, everybody just lights out. And so I don't think there's like a wrong answer.
Now there isn't. Those are the best when we got an ensemble this good to just kind
Yeah.
of pick and choose. And yeah, Renner's character is just so sad because he's,
Yeah.
he gave up 9 years of his life to save his best friend. And to him, that means, he owes him forever. But Affleck sees that debt as paid. And that's just, I can't imagine having to deal with that. Like my best friend is insane and is going to get me killed, but I love him. Like, what do I do about that? It's such a great story.
Yeah. It really is. It works because it's simple. The town's not like, oh, look at this crazy, crazy, insane, complex, story. It's like relatable, but also really badass, and has these storylines that you're like, yeah, like I get it. I totally understand what's going through these characters' hearts.
I love the realistic approach to things, like pouring bleach on the heist scene to just wipe out any trace of them. That's fucking brilliant.
Well, okay, so when you're watching a movie like this, are you like, I think I could do that?
It doesn't everybody. I mean, we all act like, oh, I would never do that. But when you see it orchestrated so well and you think, like, if I really put time and effort into it and made it as precise as possible, maybe.
Yeah, you're kind of like, well, if I have Jeremy Renner next to me and I have Ben Affleck on the other side of me, I think I could be the third guy. I think I'd be, I couldn't be the driver. There's no way I could do what that guy's doing, but I think I could be kind of like a crowd control guy. Yeah, I could do it and pour some bleach on, some computers and shit. I think I'm capable.
I hope I'm not. Goddamn. I don't know. I don't know. There was an X-Files episode that dealt with that exact idea. Like, Mulder had to infiltrate a group of terrorists and he had to help them rob a bank. And he had a moment of like, how far am I willing to go to prove myself to these people? And if I can't get into this, like, they're going to kill millions of people. And it was thankfully like, the Scully got there in time and it was like, you don't have to kill these people, Mulder. You're a good guy. But the moment of like, what am I capable of? What am I going to do? And he was really thinking about it. And I love when heroic characters are faced with horrible shit they didn't know they were capable of. And then you start to wonder, like, could I?
Yeah. Yeah.
Great.
Is anyone a hero? Yeah.
Oh.
It comes back to kind of that crucial scene in the town when you're watching Doug and Steve McRae, father and son. And Doug's like, I'm thinking about making a change. And he's like, making a change. The dad's like, are you sure? Either you got heat or you don't. Like, oh, fuck yeah. Like come on, man. This is who you are. You're not a hero. Oh, so good.
Jeez. Yeah. Goddamn.
Yeah, brilliant movie. What's your Deacons?
It is. You'd think I'd go with one of the heists, but there was not. To me, it's the scene where Fergie does tell Doug what happened to his mom.
Woof.
Because I had forgotten about that the first time I saw this, and this time it was like, oh shit, and just how casual he's like, yeah, she got all doped up, hung herself in that warehouse on the corner, and your daddy didn't have the heart to tell you, so you never stopped looking. And Doug is just seeing red. He's like, I want to stab him in the face with those fucking roses. And yeah, just having that over him and saying, like, the whole concept of like, that's how, I clips your dad's nuts chemically by getting his wife doped up on shit. It's like, wow. And then later, we get that payoff, like, tell him who clipped your nuts, and Doug shoots him in the balls.
Yeah, brilliant. I love that when he's like, hey, come here. I gotta tell you something. Something went wrong. Boom! Shoots him in the head and goes in there, and Pete's like, "Yeah, prick." Yeah, that's a good, like, fuck yeah scene where we see a little bit of redemption, and then of course, he gives the money to Claire and like buries her in the garden. That's a sweet little scene, and then you see him off in Florida, and he's got a beard, so like some time has passed. You're like, oh, okay, it's been a few months, and he also gives Jon Hamm the nice little post-it note that says, "Go fuck yourself."
It's for you.
Yeah.
But
Good
also,
shit.
like, I do love Jon Hamm's whole like macho like we're a national organization, right? It's like, yeah, come on, buddy,
Yeah,
you lost. Have some dignity.
I love the scene when they're trying to shake down Doug, and Doug's like, "You guys are so lame. Like you guys are weak." And he's like, "Good luck with those prints."
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, because he's like, "Can I leave now? Like, you don't have me for anything. Like, I'm not stupid. I've been here before."
And I love his total trust in his guys. Like he's not worried that any of them are going to flip their family. Like he's got no worries at all.
Yeah, I mean, at one point early in the movie, they're all at a bar and they're talking about how badass it is to not rat people out, so you'll go to prison for like 30 years. They're like, "Fuck yeah, that guy's a man." Yeah, yeah,
I love Affleck's anger towards Titus Welliver, who grew up with them but became a cop. And he's like, "What do you call somebody who betrayed their neighborhood and told everybody all their secrets? You call them a rat, wouldn't you?"
yeah. So good, so good. Yeah, brilliant stuff. Reminds me, some of those scenes remind me of The Departed for sure. You're just like, oh man, like the like idea you have of the authority, police and FBI and all all those kinds of occupations, and you're like, oh yeah, people get hired to do that, and most people suck. And therefore, like, these guys who are in the FBI are also shitty people, and it's just like, I love when movies expose how everyone's just got everyone is rough around the edges, everyone's got their demons.
A badge and a gun are only as worth as much as the person carrying them.
Yeah, exactly.
On both sides.
Correct. That's exactly right. uh my Deacons is a heist. It's the second heist.
Yeah.
Oh man, what a ridiculous 10 minutes of filmmaking. The second robbery in the North End, all the way to the Charlestown Bridge, where we get just a great cat and mouse type thing going on. But my favorite little parts of this are kind of like the space between the notes. Of course, the nun outfits are just so scary. I love the slow-mo shot of the kid looking at him like, holy shit. And he's fucking like holding an AK-47, about to go terrorize this bank. And they go around and the truck's not there yet. They're like, fuck, like this guy's late. So they take another loop around. They show up, the truck's there. And, chaos ensues. And Jeremy Renner shoots that guy. He fucking blasts at him. And now it's you got to get the hell out of there. So they're like in a minivan driving around. They switch to one car, then they finally switch to another car at the end. It's just all these moving pieces, and you're like, I wonder how they made that. That's where my mind goes to when I watch a heist movie, or like a like Point Break. You're like, how do y'all do that? That's where like my mind is most curious and kind of infatuated with the idea of filmmaking. Is like, I don't think I know anyone who has any idea how that works, how all these moving pieces align perfectly, and you get a 10-minute bit inside of a 2-hour movie that is just brilliant. And great dialogue in between, that's how you fucking drive a car, that stuff is great. But for me, it's more of the editing. The film editing here is just bonkers. And the direction from Ben Affleck and the costume design and all the things that kind of, make that bit what it is, just blow me away. And I've always loved it. I've always loved all three like big heists. It's basically at the beginning, middle, and end. And that one's been my favorite. As I've continued to watch this movie, is the North End heist, because it goes awry, but they get away. They barely escape. My favorite shot from that bit is when all of them get out of the van and that cop sees them. That one cop who's just like on construction detail, he's like, oh fuck. And he's by himself. He's like, I have no business. I'm about to get destroyed right here. They're gonna light my ass up. So he just looks at him and then just looks the other way. Just looks the other way, and they all continue doing their thing, and that was like such a cool bit to have in the movie, again, to kind of show that these people are all human, no matter what occupation you have, whether you're the robber the good guy or the bad guy, cops and robbers. Like you're a person, and you're gonna make decisions off your own instinct. And I love that scene says so much with action, and I love it.
Oh yeah, yeah, you're not wrong. I mean, it's on the poster. It's
Yeah,
the centerpiece of the movie, and I do love at the end when of that scene when the cop. I mean, it's on the nose. He literally looks the other way, but
yeah,
I get it. I do love that moment where they're all just staring at each other like, "What's it gonna be?"
yeah,
But yeah, that whole bit is great. I love the idea, like from the get go, it's not there. Like just the fact that the truck's not there, like everything is fucked from there on. Like the timetable's wrong. The GI Joe guy, tries to be a hero.
yep.
It's a disaster, complete disaster, but they still pull it off. Yeah, I love the nun costume was so creepy. It was such a cool idea.
Yeah, I thought that was like a genius touch to have that really creepy, really sticks with you. Great to put that on the poster. It makes you really curious, like what the fuck is going on here? These guys with these giant assault rifles in nun masks about to, and on the poster there's the truck is behind them, and you're just kind of like, okay, I have to see that. Like it's one of those things that just kind of calls to you. If you're in, you're in.
Yeah, 100%. Good shit, man.
Yeah, this movie fucking rules. There's only one category at the actual Oscars. We've already talked a bunch about the supporting actor, category and what it means to us and kind of our favorites. But in 2010, Christian Bale won for The Fighter. Great performance. Love that guy to death. It's cool that he has a win. He beat John Hawkes for Winter's Bone, Jeremy Renner for The Town, Mark Ruffalo for The Kids Are All Right, and Jeffrey Rush for The King's Speech. This is a very interesting bunch of people. If I had to give a vote, it'd definitely be Renner or Bale. It's tough. I'd probably side with Bale, but just slightly.
Well, Bale does that thing that Bale does, where he
Yeah.
emaciates himself and becomes that character, erases Christian Bale and becomes Dickie Edlin.
Yep.
And it's hard to compete with that shit, man. It's hard to compete with complete body transformation.
Yeah, and the complete accent change and what he does with his eyes in that movie is like I don't really love The Fighter, but I love what him and Melissa Leo are doing in that movie. I think they're both like wonderful and totally deserved the all the accolades. So I don't know, it's just tough. But those other three are like really interesting. Jeffrey Rush, King's Speech is the movie that won Best Picture that year. He's great in that movie. Mark Ruffalo and The Kids Are All Right. I don't think anybody cares about that movie anymore. Um, I own it. I like it. It's fine. But like, it's such an odd role to put up for Best Supporting Actor. It's just like, really? Like, especially when like Andrew Garfield in The Social Network is like right in front of you type thing. Just odd. Or Vincent Castle in Black Swan. There's things like that where you're like, huh. John Hawkes though, never thought he would ever get that kind of that kind of acclaim. But I like him in Winter's Bone. I think he's pretty good in it.
Winter's Bone was so forgettable and such a boring movie.
Yeah.
I just don't really have much to say about it.
That's totally fair. I totally get that.
But I'm with you on Andrew Garfield and The Social Network. He 100% should have been there. At the end of the day, I do give the bonus points to Bale for his commitment.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just cool to see him, win. I've always liked him as a performer, but also, Jeremy Renner does excel and really prove himself here.
Yeah.
There's
it makes sense. It makes sense that he was like the only thing recognized. Like it's like, okay, I get it. But at the BAFTAs, Pete Postlethwaite was nominated for Best Supporting Actor.
Yeah.
And that would have been cool.
Yes, it would have been cool. I mean, I wish both of them had been up. The thing about supporting is it could be, 2 minutes or hour and a half. Screen time doesn't really matter.
Yeah, it's kind of up to the judgment of, okay, like what do they mean to the movie? And Renner, is in it a lot, but he's the sidekick. He's not, this is Ben Affleck's movie, so
Very much feels like a little brother kind of syndrome, where he's good at what he does, but he's not Doug.
no, he's not. Speaking of Doug, speaking of Ben Affleck, would you nominate him for Best Actor?
No, but I would 100% nominate him for Best Director.
Okay, let's talk about that then. So Tom Hooper won for The King's Speech. He beat Darren Aronofsky for Black Swan, the Coen brothers for True Grit. Woo! David Fincher for The Social Network. Yeah. And David O. Russell for The Fighter. Man. Who's he taking out there? Tom Hooper? David O. Russell?
That's just not fair. All right, all right, I'm gonna come clean about The King's Speech. So it's a good movie. It's a good movie. Does not deserve to win Best Picture. Does not deserve to win Best Director. It's a pretty formulaic biopic that I enjoy, but I think that everyone kind of overhyped it. So I would take Tom Hooper out and I would put Affleck in there. I would give the win to David Fincher.
Yeah, you're not going to get much argument here. I would definitely give it to the Coens or David Fincher. I'd probably side slightly with Fincher. I do think True Grit is quite underrated. But yeah, Social Network is kind of a once in a career kind of movie. So Best Picture, The Town obviously should be up for Best Picture. Clearly,
yes.
We have The King's Speech one. You just spoke about that. I pretty much agree with you. I think it's good. I think it's fine, but it's not something I'm like, oh my god. When I think of 2010, that movie is like still holds up. I think I've only seen it once since then. And you know what I mean. That should matter. It's a movie that should be like relevant as time moves on. It beat this is a weird group. It beat 127 Hours, Black Swan, The Fighter, Inception, The Kids Are All Right. Funny. The Social Network, Toy Story 3, True Grit, and Winter's Bone. Weird group.
When you're
10 movies.
When you're inflating it to 10, it really becomes a like, we got 2 more spots. Who's it going to be? It doesn't feel inclusive anymore. And we've talked about that a lot.
Yeah, if it were us, I would say, throw The Town in there. Let's cut it down to 5. I think The Town, Social Network, True Grit. Now I'm kind of picking from these movies, not necessarily all of 2010. Yeah. The Town, Social Network, True Grit, Toy Story 3, and damn, after that it's hard. I would probably side with Black Swan, but I also would hear arguments for Inception because that movie was fucking huge. It was a big deal, had really good performances, and was really entertaining. But yeah, I certainly think King's Speech, 127 Hours, The Fighter, The Kids Are All Right, and Winter's Bone are kind of like, those aren't Best Picture movies. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm with you. It's an interesting. All right, my 5. Yeah, I probably The Town, True Grit, Social Network.
Yep.
Yeah, fuck it. Toy Story 3.
Oh yeah, the movie tore me to pieces.
It's a great movie. And then for the 5th, I think I'd go off script. I'm looking at what they've had to offer. Not really seeing anything else in there that screams Best Picture. So let's go off the rails.
I'm down. I mean, if I were going off the rails, I'd go Blue Valentine.
Yeah, that's a good pick. Yeah, I don't know. Fuck. You know what? I'll go Blue Valentine too. That movie was beautiful.
Yeah, great performances. Really shattering movie. I'm trying to think like from that year. I'm like not looking at like I love fucking Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, but I don't know if that's a fucking Best Picture movie. Yeah, 2010 is odd. You got Deathly Hallows Part 1. Nah. Yeah, not Part 1. Yeah. Maybe Part 2 the next year. Yeah, man. King's Speech is in every goddamn category.
Okay, here we go. 2010. Looking at my Letterboxd.
There you go.
Yeah, there's not really anything here that should be there. No. I'm gonna cut it there.
I like that. I like it. So The Town, Social Network, True Grit, Toy Story 3, and Blue Valentine. That'd be a cool group.
Yeah, I think a lot is represented there. It's definitely, a best of the year category. And there's, everything else still stands. I think Colin Firth deserved the win for the King's Speech. I think he was amazing. That might be it though.
Yeah, that might be it for like actually winning. Yeah. Yeah, I think I'd agree with you on that. Yeah. Yeah, weird ceremony, but that happens. I do love that the town is there so we could have this episode. I've had a lot of fun. Um, but gotta come to a close here. I could quote this movie for the next 9 hours, but gotta stop at some point. This week is gonna be really, really interesting. I'm actually super excited for all three of the episodes we're going to be having on our show here. On Wednesday, Filmgasm, Eyes Without a Face, 1960. It's a movie we've been wanting to see for sure, and it's kind of like I see it as a rep kind of movie where you're like, hey, if you've seen that movie, it kind of says something about you. It's one of those horror movies, one of those kind of genre films, or it's a tentpole type movie for like the real horror fans. And so I'm excited. I'll be showing up on that episode with you.
Yay! Awesome. Going old school, back to the classics.
yeah. You used to do those all the time. So yeah, I'm excited. Before Oscar Sunday, I was on Filmgasm every week with you and doing the bonuses. So that was a blast. I'm excited to come back and do it proper. On Friday, this is great because I love to hear people talk shit about this movie, The Dark Tower, from just a few years ago. Obviously, Stephen King's great book just got completely destroyed with this one, and we'll never get it back.
Caleb and I, we read all the Dark Tower books. We were very excited for that. We wanted it to be good, and they condensed 8 books into an hour-and-a-half movie that ignored the source material. This was supposed to be a return to Salem's Lot because James Wan's Salem's Lot was supposed to come out this week, but it got delayed indefinitely, been taken off the calendar, so we don't know when the fuck we're getting it. So we're gonna save Salem's Lot 2, but we still wanted to do King, so we went up with the Dark Tower.
There you go. I like that. It's good. That's a good audible. And then finally, next week on this show, we're going to be doing a 40th anniversary episode, 1982. One of the best horror films from that decade, Poltergeist. Yeah. We've done this before on Filmgasm a long time ago now, and it feels right to bring it to this show. When we do a horror movie on Filmgasm, and it's been some time, we like to bring it over here to do a different take on it. So that'll be myself, Connor, and Caleb on that episode. We're going to talk about 1982, talk about some of our favorite movies from that year, probably do a top 5 or a draft of some sort, and really praise Poltergeist and the masterpiece that it is. So I cannot wait. It's going to be really cool to redo that movie. I'm excited to watch. I haven't seen it since we did that episode.
It is such a classic. It is so creepy. It is so fun, and I'm excited to talk about it again with everything I've gathered since.
Exactly. Yeah, it's gonna be an absolute blast. So yeah, keep up with us this week. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram @FilmGasm. Check out our website. We got reviews up, all the time. Connor's got, as we speak, like 3 King Kong reviews up there. And yeah, we'll see you guys on Wednesday. Keep watching movies.